All right, today we're going to look at Chapter 10, Lesson 10, Dividing Whole Numbers by Unit Fractions. This is day 71. The aim is students will be able to divide whole numbers by unit fractions using models. This is aligned to these two standards, 5NF, it's 5NFB 7B and 5NFB 7C. I'm going to pull up the standards guide so we can read those really quickly. Here's our standards guide. If you haven't read through them, go ahead and pause the video now so that you can read both 5NFB 7B and 5NFB 7C. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and look at the first couple of examples. Before we start that, some important things to remember is that students today are going to be using models. They should never be doing keep, change, flip in 5th grade. That is just not a standard algorithm that we're going to teach them this year. The other thing that you might need to front load with kids is what a unit fraction is. A unit fraction is like 1/5 or 1/4 or 1/2, where the numerator is always going to be 1. They did learn this in 4th grade, but it would also be a nice refresher because in the language of our standard, it says that we're dividing by unit fractions. Other quick things, kids should check their work with multiplication. The models in the book look like this. We're going to replicate those when we do our classwork today. The other thinking should be like, if I was taking this 3 and I'm dividing this 3 into fourths, let's say. I'm looking here at this example down here. 3 divided by 1/4 is equal to 12. What that means is I'm taking each of these wholes and splitting them into 4/4. And so I get 12 groups of 1/4. Oh, that should really say 1/4 there instead of 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and fix that right now. 4th. Great. Just like when I had 6 divided by 2, I get 3 groups of 2. If I have 3 divided by 1/4, I end up with 12 groups of 1/4. All right, so let's go down. Let's look at this first example. A baker cuts 3 cakes into pieces. Each piece represents 1/8 of the cake. What is the total number of pieces? So I start by drawing a long rectangle and splitting it into 3 holes, and I label 3 cakes. And then I see that each piece represents 1/8 of the cake. So I'm taking each hole and splitting into 8 slices. So we would go ahead and draw that first. And then we're writing 3 divided by 1/8. Don't write 24 yet. The thinking that we want students to do is that there are 8 eighths in 1 hole, and that there are 24 eighths in 3 holes. So if I have 8 eighths here in 1 hole, then I have 24 eighths in 3 holes. So that means I have 24 groups of 1/8. So now we can go ahead and write 3 divided by 1/8 is equal to 24. I can write there are 24 groups of 1/8, and then I can write there are 24 slices. My check would be to multiply 24 times 1/8. 24 times 1/8 is 24 over 8, which is equal to 3, which is the original number of cakes that I started with. Okay, let's look at this next one. I'm dividing 4 divided by 1/2. So I'm taking 4 holes and I'm splitting each into halves, and I'm saying how many groups of 1/2 do I have? So first we start by modeling 4 holes, and then I label 4 holes. I split each hole into halves. So there are 2 halves in 1 hole. That means that there are 8 halves in 4 holes. So then I can go ahead and write 4 divided by 1/2 is equal to 8, meaning I have 8 groups of 1/2. There are 8 groups of 1/2. So 8 times 1/2 is the same as 8 over 1 times 1/2, which is equal to 8 over 2, which is equal to 4. Next one. This is our last example. Anissa is making bows for her friends. Each piece of ribbon needs to be 1/3 of a foot long to make 1 bow. She has a 6-foot long piece of ribbon that she wants to cut into 6 bows. How many bows will she be able to make? I want you to think for a second how this example 3 is different from example 1. Go ahead and read example 3 again. and go ahead and read example 1. And the difference between example 1 and example 3 is that in example 1 we start with the holes, 3, and then we're splitting them into eighths. So in this example, the first number we give students is actually 1/3. We have 6 feet, a 6-foot long piece of ribbon, and we're splitting it into thirds. So like that's what's confusing for kids. We might have some kids start to take 1/3 and try to divide 1/3 by 6, which is actually some of the work that we're doing tomorrow. So instead, what we need to be asking students are like, are we taking a third of a foot and dividing it into 6 equal pieces? Are we taking a 6-foot long piece of ribbon and dividing it into sections that are each 1/3 of a foot long? And so like that's going to help them with that second part, the application standard, the 5N7C, when they have to like distinguish between, are we taking a unit fraction dividing by a whole number or a whole number dividing by a unit fraction. So I would ask students here, what number am I dividing by? Right? So like, am I taking 1/3 and dividing by 6 feet? Or am I taking 6 feet and dividing by 1/3? So here we want to get students to draw 6 holes, label 6 holes. Each foot needs to be split into thirds, so there are 3/3 in one hole. There are 18 thirds in 6 holes, so 6 divided by 1/3 means that I have 18 sections. There are 18 groups of 1/3, or that I'll have 18 bows. Okay.